Security services, we hear, have foiled some 24 major conspiracies on a par with the airline bomb plot, 4 in the last year alone. But whatever happened to those police operations? Tonight we examine the state of the investigations and ask how many prosecutions have so far emerged from them. Here's Justin Rowlett.
The country appears to be crawling with would-be terrorists. According to the police, our national parks are now doubling up as jihadi training grounds. Undercover detectives have watched groups of up to 20 men, some with known terrorist connections, taking part in training exercises in, among other places, the Lake District. And today, more information has emerged about the alleged airline bomb plot. Police are understood to have discovered the names of more accomplices, and there are reports today that bomb-making components have been discovered and that firearms and £19,000 in cash have been seized at an address in Walthamstow.
Tomorrow, another terrorist trial begins at this court. It is just one of what are reckoned to be 70 ongoing terrorist trials in Britain. So how much do we know about these plots? And crucially, how worried should we be by them?
The day before the alleged airline plotters were arrested, the Home Secretary John Reid said that 4 major plots have been foiled since the 7/7 attacks.
Almost 1,000 people have been arrested for terrorism-related offences, of which 154 have been charged and 60 terrorist suspects await trial. Since 7/7, at least 4 terrorist plots have been successfully disrupted.
For legal reasons, Newsnight cannot broadcast details of these plots, but we understand that the attempted suicide bombing on the tube system on the 21st of July last year is not included in Mr. Reid's total. Counter-terrorism officials have a working definition of a terror plot. It must involve 2 things: intent plus some element of capacity. Perhaps the most celebrated plot to be foiled was that of Richard Reid, the so-called shoe bomber. He was convicted in early 2003. In April of that year, Britain's first suicide bomber exploded a bomb in Tel Aviv, killing 3 people. The following year, 1 man was convicted of the manslaughter of a policeman investigating a terror plot.
MI5 reckon that they've foiled 14 or 15 serious, dangerous plots in the last 5 or 6 years. That sounds about right. I mean, my guess is that there are probably 3 or 4 significant plots a year that are coming through at the moment. And around those 3 or 4 significant plots, there's probably 18 or 20 half-baked, stupid ideas.
The trial opening tomorrow here at Westminster Magistrates Court involves a man alleged to have documents useful for terrorism purposes. Other current and upcoming trials involve much more advanced conspiracies.
We have to be careful not to prejudice these trials. One involves an alleged plot to plant a massive car bomb. Another involves a cell which, it is claimed, intended to create a dirty bomb involving radioactive material. The plotters were alleged to have been led by a senior Al-Qaeda operative linked to the 9/11 attacks.
There has been an increase in jihadi chatter, almost an exponential increase. I understand that the security service gets 100 serious pieces of intelligence about this sort of talk each week, and it requires a lot of people to assess and evaluate it.
MI5 estimates that it is involved in the active surveillance of between 1,200 and 1,600 suspected terrorists. Eliza Manningham-Buller, the head of the organisation, said that after the 7/7 attacks, the number of suspected jihadis had gone up 300%. But how worried about terrorism should we actually be?
I don't think that the people of this country should be too frightened by the jihadi threat. I classify it as what I call the rail crash level of threat. Every now and again there is an incident which is as bad as a rail crash and as shocking as a rail crash. And it does us more psychological damage because it was intended. It was people with malicious intent who had created it. But statistically, we are as safe from terrorism as we are travelling on our railways. That's about the size of it.
Terrorists set out to create fear, and all this talk of terrorist plots and plans and training camps where once romantic poets roamed is certainly frightening. but sit back and assess the risks objectively. The truth is that by comparison with the other dangers we all face in our daily lives, the threat from jihadi terrorists is really not that great.